All right, hello and welcome. We have a little late night live session that I decided to fire up here. It is June 4th, 2024. I'm going to share out this stream far and wide, and I would appreciate it if you guys did the same. Really do appreciate all of you guys' support. We're going to run up one here, breaking it down, all of the current events, financial markets, and the fact that Brad Garlinghouse confirming once again that the XRP ETF is simply inevitable. And so we're going to get right on into it. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Sending out my tweet real quick. I apologize. Let's get our party started. What do you guys say? Now, going to take a look here at the markets to get started. We have some big breaking news right at the end of the day here that BlackRock and Citadel want to go make their own market. They're going to venture off away from the New York Stock Exchange, and they want to launch their basically their own stock exchange in Texas. So we got that announcement to break down. We also had Brad Garlinghouse appearing on Fox Business as well, showing out so well for the XRP community once again. I thought it was a great presentation. And, you know, it's just sad to see the sentiment of the community that just wants, every time Brad goes on a show for XRP to pump, or every time David Schwartz says something, we want it to pump. And I get it. We all want the price action. And I was thinking about this today because I actually have had some setbacks here recently within personal life, within business, some things, you know, it's a busy time. You know, we're all going through it. We all have our own story. And I was thinking about it today, laughing. And I'm thinking, man, when something bad happens in my life or in my business, or, you know, a bad deal happens, I don't then, you know, look around and, oh, my XRP investment, I'm going to blame XRP. I'm going to blame Brad Garlinghouse for why I lost the business transaction, for why my girlfriend left me, or whatever the bad story is that folks have that they're going through. And I get it. We're all going through something, right? But I was thinking about today, I'm like, I never once consider turning around and blaming my XRP investment and getting mad at my XRP investment for what's happening over here in my business that has nothing to do with XRP. And our emotions, our feelings have nothing to do with XRP fundamentals. And it's important to understand that when we're watching broader regulations actually finally come about here in the United States, the stablecoin legislation going to be included in that. You understand why the United States is moving last. We had the most to lose with the reserve currency status. An old Western system, SWIFT, which was funny to hear Liz Clayman bring that up with Brad Garlinghouse again today, the comparison between Ripple and SWIFT. And it's like, man, the XRP Ledger is so much more than just cross-border payments. But here we are, Brad Garlinghouse, trying to educate the boomers like Liz Clayman, and I love my boomers. God bless our boomers out here, right? Many boomers in our audience. But you know what I'm saying. Our community, we have folks all the way from 20 to 70 years old, but we got 70-year-old folks that understand DLT technology pretty dang well, actually. But then you got Brad Garlinghouse on there with Liz Clayman, and she's making the comparison back to SWIFT, which is great. I mean, we see that Ripple is moving in the cross-border payment space, and they've really been honing that in. But the XRP Ledger is so much more than that. And the confusion between, is it Ripple's blockchain? Is it the XRP Ledger? You know, there's, you know, and I thought that Brad did a great job representing the XRP community once again. Great job representing Ripple. And as I was preparing for my live show here tonight, I was just thinking, I'm like, man, we got to get Brad a spot in, you know, basically helping here as far as the United States roll this technology out. There's very few people, I think, that are better fit to be representing as a White House advisor or some sort of role like that, you know. And you see this revolving door at Ripple already taking place, right? With the 43rd Treasurer of the United States of America joining the board of directors, with Michael Barr being on the board of advisors, and now he's the supervisor of the Federal Reserve, and he was tasked with managing the banking crisis, which some folks have been critical, obviously, of the Fed. We have been critical of them as well. Dealt a bad hand when Michael Barr stepped into that role at the Federal Reserve here just in the last couple years. But you get the point, you know, Brad Garlinghouse representing, this is so important, our XRP community. It starts with a lot of folks thinking that this is all Ripple, this is all a centralized banker's coin, yada, 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 right? And oh, they're crazies in the XRP community. But when you hone in on what we've accomplished in the last couple years, it's pretty incredible. But folks are focused on what? Price action. I am here to confirm once again, if you thought you were going to get something else from me, you're not. I'm still incredibly bullish on XRP. Full disclosure, still incredibly bullish on XRP. And I'm going to talk about this more later when I play some of Brad Garlinghouse's interview and go through it. There's a reason why Brad continues to call out Tether. There's a reason why Brad continues to call out Dogecoin in the memes. Right? There's a reason why Brad Garlinghouse feels so comfy coming back up in the Fox Business Studios, which is obviously where Charlie Gasparino is housed at, who's been making fun of the XRP army. You know, XRP, it's sad, ha. And the weird tweets that he puts out, he's kind of a silly guy, right? Brad Garlinghouse showing up once again in Charlie Gasparino's turf. There's a reason why he's calling this out. He's calling out now the politics, and I thought it was very, very interesting the fact that he said, you know, yeah, the Trump campaign, they've come out, they want to approach crypto in a reasonable way, and he says specifically that's smart, which it is. And then he says from the Biden campaign, well, they've said some stuff, but we've just been waiting for them to follow through. You know, we've been waiting for the White House to call out their rogue regulators in the form of the Gary Gensler SEC, right? And so I thought that it was a great presentation highlighting the political battle and that legal battle that we are underway here in the United States of America. And the fact that we've been forced to spearhead this battle because the SEC came after us. The rest of the space is playing around and still doing memes and silly stuff, right? But there's a reason why Brad's still calling out Dogecoin in the memes. Do you think that he'd be calling out Dogecoin if we weren't going to go surpass Dogecoin in the memes and the silly stuff and go do something a little bit more important in the world, in the financial system, than what they've accomplished? Price-wise, do you think that he would continue to call out Dogecoin? Do you think that he would continue to bring up the fact that XRP surpassed Ethereum before it was, quote-unquote, anointed, is what he said in today's interview? Before Ethereum was anointed, XRP was in the number 2 spot above Ethereum. Do you think that he would keep bringing that up if we weren't going to do it again? Answer that question for me down in the comments down below. Would he continue calling out the memes, Dogecoin, if we weren't going to go do something better? Would he continue to call out Ethereum and the fact that we were at the number 2 spot when we were on a level playing field if we weren't going to go give Ethereum another run for their money? And folks can only understand what's directly in front of them, which is a market cap of only $3 trillion in the overall cryptocurrency space. And right now we're at about $2.5 trillion, which is less than the market cap of Nvidia, one stock. And we're about to see, as we are going to be covering here shortly, BlackRock and Citadel want to go launch a new trading platform. And I bet you it's going to have a lot of tokenization aspects to it. I'm expecting it to be more of a 24/7, 365 market, or at least pretty dang close to it. And so you're starting to see all of this come right on time, right? And many people, we have seen price action in this bull run so far. XRP hasn't given us what we want. And so they think, oh, XRP is going to miss this bull run. No, we're just about halfway into this bull run. I mean, some would say we're actually just in the first innings of this bull run. And you see the ETFs are coming. There's a reason why he's saying it's simply inevitable. Because one, there's already ETFs live and ETPs live in Europe and on the Swiss stock exchange for XRP. There's already ETPs live. And it's simply inevitable back home because, I mean, it just makes sense. He says, you don't just want exposure to one commodity, you want others as well. And I thought it was kind of interesting that he called them commodities, right? But without further ado, folks, I want to get straight on into this update. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. We have so much to cover. I wanted to start by showing you guys the charts. We see here that GameStop on the daily chart right here is basically back down to where we started on Sunday when it started going crazy in the overnight markets. We were back at about $23 GameStop on Friday where we closed off. But then we had the overnight markets on Sunday night, took us all the way up to $40, basically 100% pump for GameStop. And we've wiped out all of those gains, essentially back down to $26 right now for GameStop. For AMC, it's the same thing, basically back down a little bit higher than the lows that we were at on Friday, but back to the range that they were trading at before we got the most recent Roaring Kitty event. Now, one thing that Liz Clayman asked Brad Garlinghouse was comparing the Roaring Kitty deal with cryptocurrency and basically saying, you know, oh, Roaring Kitty and the memes are pumping again. Is this what's fueling the crypto run? And I thought that Brad Garlinghouse did a good job of acknowledging, well, he thinks this is mostly driven by the political battle and the breakthroughs that we're having and these ETFs getting approved, right? But I would have liked to hear him make a clear discrepancy between saying, yeah, there actually is a lot of meme activity in the cryptocurrency space, but over here with what we're using XRP for, this is completely different institutional use case and a focus on real world utility, solving $1 trillion problems. But yes, no, there is a lot of stuff that does relate to Roaring Kitty and the memes and having a lot of fun and pumping it up and dumping it. And that's taking place in the cryptocurrency space, but that's completely separate from what we're doing over here in the XRP Ledger community. Ripple leading the helm, of course. But still a great presentation and great showing from Brad Garlinghouse. Let's take a look here at our Bitcoin, which did pump back up to 71,000 here today. Now, we are seeing huge inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETF for BlackRock. So we got the BlackRock boys and girls showing up here once again, putting out the news that they're considering opening their own stock market in Texas, and huge inflows to the BlackRock ETF today. Ethereum at 3,800 and XRP did pump up to 53 cents today, cooling back off to 52.5 right now. Basically just followed right along with Bitcoin as well. Something that was interesting was Flare did get a little bit of a pump here in anticipation of the F assets going live. I'm going to be dropping an update more on deep diving on Flare and the updates to their ecosystem. A lot of good stuff. It's been a long time coming for the Flare ecosystem to get the F assets, and it's finally coming, finally arriving. Did get a little bit of a pump by the rumor, sell the news sell-off, but still holding up here at basically just below 3 cents. We'll continue to watch that one. Now, I did want to take a quick look, though. I haven't checked gold or silver today. They are still holding so strong at 2,300 for gold. And then for silver, that's right, silver did dip below 30 bucks. And guys, I mean, how much longer are we going to have to buy $30 silver, sub 30 silver? This is a serious question because this was anticipated. As I said, I want us to hold 30. But what I want and what our market's actually going to do are two completely separate things. If the market was doing what I wanted it to do, well, XRP would be at 589, and you guys know that deal. And silver would be at a lot higher price too. But I was totally ready for this. This is not a big deal. Okay, a back test, sub 30, better take advantage of it while it lasts, is my thinking, right? I'm thinking, okay. In fact, I was ready to go take some money into my dealer and put the order on the books. Hey, let's clear this thing. If we go sub 30 once again, I need my order filled, please. And here we are once again, sub 30, 29.67 is where we're at for silver right now. And so if you guys have been thinking about making the move on precious metals, well, we are sub 30. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't think it's going to last long. I do feel like we have a little bit more left in silver for sure. But take advantage of it while you can, because even with these premiums right now, they are still incredibly low, right? And what that means is that a lot of people are actually selling metals back. And that's because of the economy and how rough it's getting out there. We've actually seen most of this demand for gold been driven by central banks, been driven by the East. And in silver, it's been driven by the East. It's been driven by India, which is just imported so much. They imported more silver than they did all of 2023 in just the past 4 months, just to put that into perspective for you. And so the same thing, gold and silver, kind of different dynamics. But for silver, the industrial usage and utility, the demand for that just continues to grow. And that's really what's driven silver lately, actually, as well, just along with copper. And we did see that the U.S. oil price, our benchmark here, back down to $73 right now. Big drop off here. Big drop off in oil. Okay. And a sign of a slowing economy is what that is. For more on the economy, we have the Cabesi letter with the update here. The U.S. economy now has 63 banks on the brink of default, according to the FDIC. Over 500 billion of paper losses held by banks. Now, this is the good news for the banks, is that they've been able to dwindle that down. Remember, it was at what, 600 billion almost 700 billion just a couple months ago. They've been able to dwindle down some of those losses, right? And we have declining GDP growth with rising inflation. That's a recipe for disaster. Over 50% of Americans believe we are in a recession. And I'll tell you what, perception is reality. And there's a reason why that sentiment is getting taken from the American people right now. It is getting tied out there, despite the all-time high stock market. Lowest mortgage demand in over 30 years. I'm about to show you some little real estate data point here next. A record 17.7 trillion in total household debt. How is this a soft landing? And in fact, we just saw, I retweeted it out here before I hopped on this live show, 589 days, which is kind of funny because that's a meme in the XRP community, right? 589 days of the yield curve inversion of the 10-year versus the 3-month. Longest yield curve inversion that we've ever had, and yet folks somehow think that this is going to be a soft landing and we're going to avoid a recession. Yeah. In regards to real estate, the reset's already underway, and you're seeing an inventory shift year over year of 70% for Florida. This is growth in the amount of inventory listed. 70% for Florida, 68% for Arizona, 52% for Washington, 49% for Georgia, and 46% for South Carolina. If you're looking at markets to go beat them up, well, there you have it. There you have it. Markets like Florida, good luck getting insurance. We're seeing huge amount of insurance cancellations of the policies. Huge problems down in Florida right now with HOAs, condo assessments. Huge problems there. And so the real estate resets underway in these markets here that I just highlighted are where we're seeing the largest growth in inventory. And in these markets, you're still seeing a lot of population still coming in, still net positive growth, but not at the pace of what it once was. And like I'm saying right now, this comes down to a market by market basis. The old saying in real estate is location, location, location. Well, yeah, it's going to be a market by market basis. And as far as your real estate investments, what segment of real estate you are investing in, right? Now, this is just the 1-year change in active housing inventory. And remember, I mean, we just went through that spring selling season. And really now you're going to start to see more inventory picking up in some of the other states where their markets don't pick up until it warms up in May, June, right? So I expect these numbers to grow. And once again, this is just our opportunity to take advantage in this asset class as well. I like to talk about the opportunities that we got in real estate, precious metals, traditional financial markets, equities, of course. And the bonds are once again having their worst years in history, the last 100 years. So that opportunity not as appealing, right? But of course, we like to focus on cryptocurrency, which is funny. We got Gary Gensler here hosting the 90th anniversary of the Securities Exchange Act is coming up, aka the SEC's 90th birthday. Now think of how much protection we've been getting in the past 90 years. Are you guys feeling protected out there? We will host an event this Thursday. Yep. But what's so interesting about this, and we need to stuff this one in the All the World's a Stage file that Digital Asset Investor is holding for us. I'm going to make sure I send this one over to him so he can add this to the file. On panel number 1, we have the honorary Mary Jo White. Mary Jo White, you don't say. Couldn't be the legal assassin that has been representing Ripple in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, is going to be speaking on this panel celebrating the SEC's 90th birthday. We're going to have to stuff that in DAI's All the World's a Stage file right there for you folks. What are you talking about, Mary Jo White? And I've been talking about how her and Andrew Sarasny, who also was SEC Chief of Enforcement, absolute legal assassins. Mary Jo White, when it comes to the legal battlefield in the courtroom, absolute legal assassin. And she used to work, I forget her role at the SEC, blanket on that one right now, but we saw that she left the SEC to go represent Ripple, and now she's going to be speaking on this panel. You just can't make it up, folks. Now, tomorrow, 2 congressional hearings are going to be taking place from Eleanor Terrett with The Scoop. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern, the House Subcommittee markup of fiscal year 2025 Financial Services and General Government Bill, where the SAB 121 will be brought up in relation to the SEC budget. So there's some talks now about this. Look what has found its way into the House GOP budget bill that is set to be marked up at hearing tomorrow. One of the provisions or policy riders of the bill prohibits the SEC from using appropriated funds to implement SAB 121. So basically, they're using that power of the purse as they're supposed to be doing. We would also like to see a subpoena of Gary Gensler, and he should be testifying, and we should be doing a whole heck of a lot more than what we've been doing in these committees and writing our nasty letters. But tomorrow, we are going to see that one taking place at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We will be talking about that one. Remember, that's the bill that Biden vetoed. And then at 9 a.m. Eastern, the Financial Committee, Subcommittee on Digital Assets, will be having a committee meeting on how tokenization of real-world assets will facilitate efficient markets, where the Tokenization Reporting Act will be discussed. I guess cheers everyone to regulations finally being talked about in DC. When are we ever going to get anything passed? Well, don't hold your breath. They got some more nasty letters to write and a couple more committee hearings to have before we can proceed. Now, continuing on here, folks, this is, as I mentioned earlier, BlackRock and Citadel planning to launch a new national stock exchange in Texas to compete with the New York Stock Exchange. Now, I want you guys to think about this for a second. How much business New York is losing right now? How much business is leaving? How much investment is leaving New York because of, well, how's your program working out? It's the question I continue to ask. How's your program working out? It's not working out too well in New York. Businesses are fleeing, investment dollars are fleeing, and now BlackRock and Citadel, who is not Joe Blow wanting to go set up a stock exchange. This isn't me and my buddies going to launch a stock exchange. Citadel, I think, is the largest market maker in the United States of America, one of them, right? And BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is absolutely incredible to see how we're seeing money, business, and folks that want just common sense are fleeing the states where these programs have just been an absolute failure. It's not even getting political. It's just simply asking the question, how is the program working out? From a business perspective, these states are running incredible deficits, and it's only getting worse. And I'm not even going to go deeper on it. You guys know I could go deeper on it. I don't need to. The program ain't working out. Now, you guys let me know in the comments down below. Do you want to go trade your assets on BlackRock and Citadel's exchange? Citadel, the market maker, and they of course have pretended as if they have no role in basically what happened with the GameStop saga back in 2021. No issues there, right? Even though we did uncover a lot of what they did, and that was put in that movie, The Dumb Money documentary on that whole story, right? Citadel and Ken Griffin. So, I'm not going to be partaking in that. And I retweeted this news out and I asked, BlackRock XRP ETF, is it coming? I do believe it is. I do believe it is going to be coming from BlackRock. I believe that this could be one of the many products that's offered on this stock exchange that they have. Despite us not liking BlackRock, won't stop them from launching an XRP ETF. Despite us not liking BlackRock, is not going to stop them from creating their own stock exchange. Despite us not liking BlackRock's not going to stop them from buying up all of our real estate. Now, how do we position? We buy the assets. We're playing on the same playing field. It might be tilted slightly their way, but making excuses for ourselves isn't going to get us across the goal line. And so, like I've been saying, with the gold and the silver ETFs, we saw what happened. A lot of folks worried that the same thing's going to take place as happened with gold and silver, price suppression for decades, right? And we finally have broken out of that. But what I remind our audience of is basically the fact that gold did a 5x and silver did a 10x before they were able to capture the markets. And as Brad Garlinghouse pointed out in his interview today with Fox Business, The Bitcoin ETFs have seen the same amount of inflows that it took gold 1 year to get. Bitcoin ETFs did that in 2 months. So the amount of money coming in is happening at a faster rate and a faster pace. Is it going to be more than gold? I believe it will. The overall space, not just Bitcoin, but the overall digital asset space and digital asset ETFs, I believe it will grow bigger than gold. But you have to compare. It's like commodities, right? It's the same thing. Are we going to get the classification that crypto digital assets are commodities? That's yet to be seen. Many folks believe that they do have the same characteristics. I do. I consider XRP to be a currency and a commodity, just like gold. Just like gold. It's a commodity, and it has real utility, and it has that store of value, and it has the means of transaction like a currency. So to me, it meets the definition of a commodity and a currency. But just like with commodities, you have oil, copper, gold, silver, uranium, corn, wheat, soy. I mean, you go on, the list goes on. And there's ETFs for all of those. And funny enough, go look at those prices on coca, coffee. Go look at orange juice. These things have gone nuts, right? And what's happening is the stock market is being unraveled. That was the video that I dropped yesterday. And I do want to apologize, guys. Yesterday's video, I just thought that it was kind of a cute title and thumbnail, and I didn't really mean for it to be as much of clickbait as it was. I put out a video yesterday, and the title was "They Flipped the Switch." And it was in regards to the stock market getting shut off, but I got overwhelming feedback of people that were very mad at me for clickbait. And I apologize. You guys know me. I have very strong feelings about clickbait. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's making content to get views or to sell you something. And I've always said that I only wish to engage in ethical clickbait, which in my opinion is putting something out there that can be backed up. And so when I put out that video yesterday, I put in the background image on the thumbnail a red stock market with a guy that was like putting his hand on his head in disbelief at a red stock market. So I was trying to make a joke out of, they flipped the switch. That's an XRP meme. We're all waiting for them to flip the switch. I thought it was kind of funny, but a lot of people were very sensitive and a lot of people were very mad at me for that. And I apologize. I'm not trying to bait you into something that I can't back up. If I'm putting it in the title and the thumbnail, I'm going to talk about it. And I talked about them flipping the switch off. That's exactly what it was. But I understand why folks were mad about that. So I apologize for that. But it was a good video. I had a lot of good feedback, a lot of good comments of people that actually watched the video and said, hey, why has everybody got their what in a bunch? This is actually a good video. The point of that video, though, was the stock market is being exposed. That's why they have to keep on hitting that circuit breaker off. That's why they have to keep flipping that switch off. It's because the stock market is being exposed. And so the fact now that BlackRock and Citadel, one of the market makers that can't help keep the market liquid, can't help keep the market going because they've got, so much manipulation through the derivatives that now they want to go launch their own exchange, right? Stock exchange, which is pretty funny in and of itself. Now, let's continue on here. As Chad Steingraber reiterated, as I've been saying, commodity ETFs do not make the underlying asset a security. XRP equals digital oil. And that's a great actual analogy. Digital oil, great comparison, right? And so this has been a big point of confusion for some reason. A lot of folks just, I don't think, really understood how the ETFs work. But you can put whatever the heck you want in an ETF. You can make an ETF that's a trading strategy. And I've talked about this. There's breakfast ETFs that buy companies and stocks, securities of companies that provide breakfast products, right? You can buy a gold ETF. You can buy a copper ETF. You can buy an oil ETF. You can buy a Bitcoin ETF. It doesn't mean Bitcoin's a security. It doesn't mean that Ethereum's a security when they approve that ETF. It doesn't mean XRP is a security, and they are coming. I know folks are like back and forth on, do we want an ETF? Do we not want an ETF? They're here. They are inevitable. And you and me are not going to stop the institutions from creating an ETF. In fact, if I could get my ducks in a row fast enough, I'd be trying to figure out how I can partner up with an institution that's going to launch an XRP ETF, right? Because I know that there's a lot of people with 401k retirement accounts that want to be able to roll their 401k into XRP ETFs. I'd love to be a part of. The first company, the first business, the first institution that does that is going to have a competitive advantage, just like BlackRock has right now with the Bitcoin ETFs. There's a reason why they took all that market share from Grayscale. There's a reason why they had huge inflows here today. They're setting up shop in this space. Just like Franklin Templeton's CEO said at Consensus last week, they're running validators and infrastructure for 30 different blockchains. These institutions are not playing around. And so we need to lean into it, not by, I'm not going to go buy any of these ETFs. I'm not buying any of them. But I understand folks have their hands tied in 401ks and they only have so many different things that they can invest in. That's why I have a link for rolling over your 401k retirement account to gold and silver. I have a lot of folks that want to do that. I wish I could partner up with somebody who's got the XRP ETF coming or already had launched it. There's no reason why it shouldn't already be here. There's no case that the SEC has for denying an XRP ETF if it's done in the same fashion as Bitcoin. The fact that we know that XRP in and of itself is not a security. And so we need to lean into it by owning the underlying assets. I wish I could have bought some silver back before the ETFs went live, and silver did a 10x from $5 to 50. Now, I thought this was pretty incredible here today, too. I saw this response from our good friend Jimmy Valley. And I always appreciate his insight from the legal perspective and as a securities lawyer. He is talking about the updated, interview here with Brad Garlinghouse and basically saying that Brad Garlinghouse is confirming his point above. And his point above is that, in regards to the summary judgment and the ruling from Judge Torres, that this is one area where Torres could have been a bit more clear, which would have provided much more clarity for the digital asset industry. It was the contract that was the investment contract security, not the XRP. Okay? And he says, Brad Garlinghouse confirming my point above. But then this is where it gets interesting. This is kind of a smoking gun right here for Ripple's defense on why they will not pay $2 billion in disgorgement penalties and fines with interest. He says, now, for those keeping score at home, here's the best part. Question, what do you call a private transaction in securities sold solely to institutions and accredited investors? Well, the answer would be a private placement of securities. Question, what does Section 4.2 of the Securities Act of 1933 say about private placements of securities? Answer, they are exempt from the registration requirements of Section 5. What? What are you saying, Jimmy? Are you actually saying that what Ripple did by failing to register the investment contracts under Section 5 as the SEC government claims and for which the SEC seeks $2 billion in fines penalties was actually, wait for it, perfectly legal? Yep, that's how corrupt your government is. And that's why we've been saying that the damages are massive. Damages are worth hundreds of billions and maybe even trillions. And P.S., ETHgate is real. And Empower US, by the way, is going to be getting a response on their Freedom of Information Act and a few other things that they're working on right now. Now, I thought that there was one other response that I wanted to show you guys. Okay, yeah. Bill Morgan retweeted asking for clarification. Are you talking about its sales of XRP now or the pre-lawsuit period? And Jimmy responds, I am talking about the category of institutional sales for which Judge Torres found the contracts to be investment contracts and therefore securities. I think the time frame was 2013 to present. The only thing that Ripple, quote unquote, did wrong was that they did not treat those transactions as securities at the time of issuance. If they would have filed a Form D and perfected the private placement, and we wouldn't even be talking right now. But Ripple took the position that those transactions were not securities transactions upon legal counsel as well, too, right? They got legal opinions saying that XRP was, how to sell XRP. And so they had, solid legal opinions when they made those transactions, believing that they were not securities transactions. And so what? Judge Torres has ruled that they are securities transactions, but even though they were private placements of securities, and this is much ado about nothing, in my opinion. And as we just got court precedent in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in the Gavel case, if there's no harm, there's no foul. There's no damages, nobody lost money, then there's no penalty, there's no disgorgement. It's really kind of boring, honestly. Now, plot twist. Now that they are securities transactions, if the buyers, that is the institutions of the securities, did not hold the XRP for the applicable holding periods and, throat clearing noise, sold that XRP onto the secondary markets, then those institutions became underwriters and sold securities without a registration statement in direct violation of the securities laws, even the private placement part. Whoopsie daisies. And if I would have been Ripple's corporate lawyer, which I was not, I would have made it very clear in those investment contracts in question that if you, Mr. Institution, sold those securities in violation of the securities laws without a proper registration statement in place or an applicable exemption in violation of the applicable holding periods under the law and or as set forth in our agreement contract, we're getting that lawyer speak from Jimmy. You can tell, this is how he speaks. This is why we love him. You, Mr. Institution, would be required to indemnify me, Ripple, from any damages, including, say, SEC fines penalties that arise from your violation of our agreement. In other words, if I were Brad Garlinghouse, which I'm not, I'd be cool as a MFN cucumber, which is a legal term of art, because you, Mr. Institution, and not me, Ripple, breached the investment contract and caused the damages. But that's just me. I think differently from most. P.S. We are laughing. Now, all this to say that, as I've been pointing out too, right, upon, the consultation of, Jeremy Hogan, Jimmy Valley, John Dean, and all of our lawyers, Fred Rispoli, that have helped us break down and understand this case, right? I'm not a lawyer, but I listen to everything that these guys say in their breakdowns of this situation. This is a minor foul. It's a minor violation. Right? There was no damages done. Everybody made money. So, and if those institutions were to sell, like Jimmy's saying, they could have actually, not followed the investment contract as it was written. So that would be upon them. And that's actually kind of what happened with R3 too, right? They had a deal. They had an expectation that, hey, we're going to give you 5 billion XRP to R3, right? And R3 was supposed to go around and introduce Ripple to all their partners and get all these banks and institutions to come on board. And who knows what the other parts of that investment contract were. But R3 and Ripple, the deal fell apart. They ended up selling up for 1 billion. So that's just one example of these contracts and pre-allocations of these investment contracts that we do find, and we do believe that under the common law that, yeah, the contract themselves were investment contracts. Ripple should have registered those. Small violation. Really a small violation. And you are seeing right now in this final ruling that we may get that clarity from Judge Torres on the discrepancies between ODL contracts, and specifically the ODL contracts as they've been changed since the lawsuit was filed. If we get the sign off from the judge on those, then we get the sign off on ODL sales, which are sales to institutions, not being securities. And we have the full green light on Ripple's business model, which no other cryptocurrency company has, not even close. Not even close. So, One other point that I wanted to share on the XRP Ledger is that we just got released. The Ripple D 2.20 got released. This is a new basically update for the Ledger. And it includes some features and fix amendments. This one's from Vet. Huge shout out to Vet for keeping us updated on everything XRP Ledger. This includes the price oracles. This is massive, guys. This is where we can get real world data from off-chain and we bring it on-chain. We can tap into Flare, time series oracles, right? Tap into Flare. They already are using oracles. We can tap in with Chainlink. They're already using oracles. We can have our own oracle providers. And there's going to be many of them that are going to be providing real world data and information back to the blockchain. This is a big amendment. I've really been waiting for this one. DID fix empty DID. So they're implementing a fix. They found an issue, a little bug on the decentralized identity amendment. That's XLS 40. So they're issuing a fix right here. That's very, very important. This is going to bring KYC on chain. So if a project wants to implement KYC and different projects and different use cases arise from that ability to put decentralized identifiers on data, on tokens, whatever you want. And then we get the X-Chain bridge fix, and that's the cross-chain bridge, XLS 38D. This is where the EVM sidechain comes in and other sidechains will be created, and that X-Chain bridge fix going to be critical. We have a couple other fixes. We have an AMM fix, and so that has been released, and now it's a matter of the validators updating that software to the newest version. And they do that, they phase in, and they accomplish that over the next month or so. I'm sure they'll get it updated. Now, if you guys haven't already, please make sure that you guys have subscribed and make sure that you have liked this video. What I want to do right now is I'm going to play the Brad Garlinghouse interview and I want to break it down. I know some of you guys have probably already watched it. This was played earlier today, but I wanted to provide my insights, what I took away from it. So I'm going to run this interview. I'm going to let you guys know what I have to say, but I really do appreciate everybody for stopping by. And after I go through this, I am going to be doing some Q&A. So if you want to stick around for some Q&A, that is going to be going down after I go through this interview with Brad Garlinghouse on Fox Business. Let's let it run.
Is Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse in studio, no less. Let's get to Ether first. Word on the street is that spot Ether ETF is going to come alive. It's alive next month, as early as next month, maybe July. Who knows? What do you think?
I think that's right. And I think it is a big deal just in terms of further opening the markets to more people who want to access it. Obviously, the Bitcoin ETF went live in January. And you saw 10 billion. I mean, it took, I think, 2 months to reach the same level it took gold ETF to reach over like a year. So the interest in this space remains very, very high. And I think the ETH ETF will do extremely well.
What do you think is behind the SEC becoming, let's just call it more pragmatic about cryptocurrency ETFs and the approval process?
Well, I think the first thing is they've lost a lot in court. And so,
they've lost a lot in court. You can say that a couple more times, Brad.
He really got dragged kicking and screaming across the line to get the Bitcoin ETF live. And I think they realized that if they were going to drag their feet and fight around the ETH ETF, that likely the same outcome was going to happen.
Remember, this is what the SEC is all mad about, right? Is that Brad Garlinghouse is showing no remorse. He's still making appearances talking about the losses that the SEC's taken, and that's hurting their feelings. And Ripple's making so much money. They're so well off that's why we need to go issue $2 billion worth of disgorgement and fines and penalties with interest included.
And I mean, it's frustrating that we have to go through the courts to get those positive outcomes. The United States should be investing in these technologies. We should be embracing these from a job creation, from a technical innovation. And unfortunately, this SEC has been fighting it every step of the way.
I've known you for, I don't know, 7 years now. And back then, y'all didn't have that loud a voice.
For sure.
It feels like you do now. So what about an XRP ETF? You were speaking at the Consensus 2024 conference just a week ago, and you said inevitable, not just for XRP, but Solana and Cardano, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But XRP in particular, the SEC has tried to throw you down in court.
Yeah.
Don't you think that Gensler and company might just say,
tried to throw Ripple down in court and failed, lost miserably.
Now that one, no way.
I think it's a hard argument with them to win. I mean, can they make life difficult? They've made life difficult for a lot of people, then they've lost in court. What I was talking about at the Consensus Conference last week in Austin was that people don't want just exposure to one commodity. So if you have exposure to gold, you might want exposure to silver. If you have exposure to other commodities. And so to me, it only makes sense. You don't want to have just a single threaded asset exposure. So I think people also forget that it wasn't that long ago, before the SEC got involved, that XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. And that was before the SEC kind of anointed ETH. Then they couldn't answer the question, is ETH a security or not? And now they've approved the ETF.
As I was saying, would Brad Garlinghouse keep bringing this up? The fact that XRP surpassed Ethereum and took the number 2 spot back when they were on a level playing field before ETH was anointed. Would he keep bringing that up if we weren't about to go give Ethereum a run for their money and maybe go back to that 2 spot? Because if we weren't, if XRP wasn't going to do that, what's the appearance? Just another salty, another salty CEO, part of a crypto project, part of XRP, and he's just another salty XRP holder. Brad knows what's coming. There's a reason why he's calling out ETH. There's a reason why he keeps on bringing that up. That back when we were on a level playing field, we took the 2 spot. He wouldn't be saying that if there was no chance that XRP was going to do that again. I firmly believe that he would not be doing that. It's just a bad look. Unless you're going to go take that 2 spot again. I know, call me crazy.
They contradict each other. It's very contradict themselves. It's very difficult to follow.
Let's not assume that all our investor audience understand what XRP is. XRP is the token or the coin that Ripple, which is a money transaction site.
See, Liz Klayman doesn't have any idea what she's talking about.
Charged, right?
Yeah.
You get paid in XRP, but it's become something that people can also buy whether they use the Ripple blockchain, right?
Correct. So
it is not the Ripple blockchain. Okay, this is where we get all this confusion from. Liz Klayman, we're still trying to catch her up to speed.
XRP is a digital asset, not that dissimilar than Bitcoin or ETH. There's different characteristics of each asset. Bitcoin has really become digital gold and has thrived because of that. ETH, there's a lot of excitement around the smart contracts capabilities. XRP is extremely fast on a per transaction basis and extremely inexpensive. People talk about gas fees and transaction costs of some other tokens. Ripple uses XRP as part of our technical stack to do cross-border payment flows.
And you charge whoever is moving the money,
Correct.
0.00001 of XRP, which stands around 51 cents or something right now. But here's my question. Right now, the main competitor in that space is SWIFT. That, of course, is the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Transactions. That's the global one that a lot of people use. They charge much more, do they not?
Yeah, they really are the dominant. I mean, SWIFT has been around for, 50, 60 years. And the frustrating part for all of us as users of SWIFT is that it really hasn't changed in 50 or 60 years. The architecture of how it works, it means it's slow, it's expensive, and frankly, it's quite error prone. Some studies have shown that about 6% of all SWIFT attempts to wire a SWIFT transaction end up in errors that bounce back, and then it takes days to get it back.
What about you guys?
Well, an XRP transaction and a payment flow for us is really real time. It's instant, it's cross-border, and the really powerful thing for a lot of our customers is they don't have to pre-fund accounts, because our customers are financial institutions. And the way SWIFT works is you're pre-funding, you have dormant capital sitting in other banks around the world. Using XRP, using RippleNet, our payments network, you don't have to pre-fund.
When we look at this...
Now, as I mentioned earlier too, the XRP Ledger is doing a whole lot more than just cross-border payments. And even what Ripple is offering now is so much more than cross-border payments. But you have to understand why I'm okay with this conversation, because you're talking to a Fox Business audience that doesn't understand what this crypto thing is, right? They've heard of Bitcoin, they've heard of the dog coin, and they think we're all crazy. They think we're all degenerates. They think it's all stupid. And then they get this crypto CEO up here and he's talking all professional, looks all classy and slick and smooth with it. And they're trying to figure out, what can I compare this to? Well, let me compare it to the old SWIFT system that's been around for 60 years that most people know about, right? If you've ever gone to send money overseas, you know the fees, you know how much it is. And a lot of people who have a clue about how the system works have maybe heard of SWIFT, right? And so that's why I laugh, because it's like this conversation about, oh, the Ripple Ledger, and you guys are focused on cross-border payments, right? And it's like, well, actually, they just acquired a custodian company, Medico. They acquired a trust company in New York, Standard Custody and Trust, waiting for that one to go through too. So institutional grade custody is now another focus of Ripple. And as he's, always mentions, right, XRP settlement is just one part of the tech stack that they offer. But I like, we have to kind of dumb it down for the Fox business crowd, even though there's some decent conversation. At least Fox Business will pull up like Danielle DiMartino Booth. They'll pull up like a few people that I do respect. Once in a while, they'll get Peter Schiff on. But you kind of have to dumb it down for the Fox Business crowd, right? And so I get a laugh out of that.
Suddenly coming alive, cryptocurrency, at least in the past week or so. So now we've got Bitcoin back above 70,000. Some people are making the connection between that and the Roaring Kitty re-entry into the world, reactivating his account on Reddit and saying he owns $115 million worth of GameStop shares. Do you see any connection between?
See, and this is where I mentioned that I thought that Brad maybe should have made a disconnect and said, yeah, there's a lot of connection between Roaring Kitty, the memes, and some of the cryptocurrency space. But what we're doing over here is completely separate, focused on utility, focused on trillion-dollar problems. But yeah, there's a connection over there. Why hasn't the SEC shut them down? That's an interesting question for you guys to consider. But he went with the politics route, which was a good play by Brad as well.
Between his sudden emergence and all of the cryptos moving higher, like a meme stock feel back in 2021 where people were also diving into crypto.
Yeah, I think this momentum is really driven from what's happening on a political basis. And the United States remains the largest economy in the world, and it has been kind of backwards as its approach to cryptocurrencies. Countries like the UK are way ahead, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland. I mean, we are really behind the rest of the world.
And Ripple has offices in many of those cities.
We do. We have 14 offices around the world. And so for me, I think what's really driving the momentum right now is seeing that, you even said this earlier, the voice of crypto, the voice of Ripple, and is really gone up in the conversation in the United States. I think you're seeing shifts.
Well, some of that is money. You yourself, over the past 2 years, have given a total of $50 million to Fair Shake, the lobby firm that cryptocurrency people are really kind of filling the coffers there. And suddenly you have Donald Trump saying, I'm the crypto president. You have Joe Biden making some noise about, come on, lay off the regulations a little bit. You guys suddenly have a voice. You're the kitten that roared, in a way.
Yeah. So I think it's less about the roaring kitten and more about, hey, you're seeing some of the political machinery in the United States move and act. And look, we haven't yet seen the Biden administration. They've said some things, but they haven't followed this up with actions. You have seen Trump make this part of his campaign. I think it's incredibly smart and incredibly strategic. This is a topic that has a lot of passionate people, and this is an excitement and enthusiasm that are pro-innovation, pro these technologies, and know that they can be used in ways to protect consumers all at the same time. I think it's crazy that it ever became a partisan issue, but I think that the Republicans are being very strategic in how they're approaching that, and I think it's becoming an election issue, which I think is good for the industry, and thus I think it's driving some momentum in the market.
Brad, we'll be watching. Okay, XRP.
And I want you guys to just consider the fact, too, when Brad Garlinghouse makes his appearance on Fox Business and he's doing these shows and stuff, in, next year, 2 years from now, whenever Ripple ends up going public, because I think that it is inevitable, when you get to see that ticker running across the bottom of that screen where they'll show the stock of Ripple, the company, and then they'll show XRP, right? They're showing all the cryptographics and XRP and all this and that. But when they can show that Ripple thing too, and then they listen to Brad Garlinghouse say, oh, wow, offices in 14 different places, you're competing with Swift, your business model is very successful, and then also add to the story, wait, you guys defeated the SEC? That same SEC that's being roped into Congress right now with all these new bills that are trying to restrict the SEC and bring them back in. And you guys were spearheading that. And you spent $50 million donating to this political campaign, help making real change in DC. You guys set up an office in DC too. See, folks, this isn't going to stop here. Brad Garlinghouse going on Fox Business, Brad Garlinghouse going on CNN, Brad Garlinghouse, he's going to go on both sides, and he played it so well there by saying, hey, maybe the Biden administration wants to give us a chance. You know, they've said some things, we're waiting for the action, but they've said some things. Smart move by Brad. And the acknowledgement of, yeah, our voice is being heard. There's a strong segment of the population here that just wants the government out of our business. Let us use the currencies that we want to use, whether that be digital, whether that be a physical, right? Let us not be taxed to death, please. Let us be able to invest in opportunities and start a business and bring value to our community. That's all we want. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness on a level playing field. It's a simple demand. Now, you guys can start to drop your comments and questions down below. If you guys appreciate the live updates, please make sure that you tap that thumbs up for me. It really does help. And then if you can, please share our content far and wide. We want to bring more people into this space right now so that they understand XRP. It's not going anywhere, right? It's from a fundamental perspective, the fundamentals continue to get better and better. Brad Garlinghouse wouldn't be making these public appearances. He wouldn't be calling out Ethereum. He wouldn't be calling out Dogecoin. He wouldn't be calling out the politicians if he didn't know and if he wasn't very comfortable. Like Jimmy Valley says, if he was Brad Garlinghouse, he would be as comfortable as a MFing cucumber. I think that Brad is, you know, and I got to see yesterday in the comments, a lot of people were mad about that video that I did, like I said. And I had a chance to take down the video or change the title or do a deal, whatever, but I got a lot of good feedback. I wanted to see how far it would go. And I was surprised because I know that our sentiment's not strong in the XRP community right now. But I was actually pretty surprised by just how bad it did get yesterday. And on the broader, you know, X spaces and the broader community and everything. But like I said, a lot of folks are bringing external situations into their investment evaluation. When they're coming up with their investment thesis, something bad happened in their life, has nothing to do with investing, but they're bringing it back and they're blaming XRP. They're bringing it back and they're blaming some investment that they've made versus, well, no, I just made a bad business decision. I wasn't with the right person. Whatever the deal is, right? You don't want to confuse the two. And when you simply put emotions and all this stuff aside, your financial situation outside of XRP aside, because that has nothing to do with XRP fundamentals. When you look at the XRP fundamentals, when you're calm, collected, not getting too hyped up. Remember, I'm not here to overhype it with fluff and nonsense. I get hype about XRP because the fundamentals continue to get better and better. Because Brad Garlinghouse is still on Fox Business, not backing down, still showing up, doubling down, calling them out. He did a lot of calling out at Consensus. And he wouldn't be doing this if XRP was going to miss this bull run. If XRP wasn't going anywhere. And I've been telling folks, we got to get ready. It is coming. I know it's hard to believe. A lot of people don't want to believe. A lot of people want to give up. A lot of people already sold and moved on. That's fine. When I sit down, when I gather myself, whether I'm grabbing myself a cup of coffee, whether I'm grabbing myself an adult beverage because I'm running up a late night live session, I show up here every day and I'm looking at this current situation, this current landscape. I'm evaluating my investment thesis. I'm asking, what did I miss? Where am I wrong? There's no other CEOs of crypto companies showing up on Fox Business, period. period. They're nowhere to be seen. There's no other representatives from crypto companies showing up at the meetings that Brad Garlinghouse has been a part of going back years now. Now you're starting to see more involvement at some of these different groups and some of these different meetings. You're seeing representation from others. So I'm not going to say that at all these big, conferences that Ripple and Brad are the only ones there. That's not the case anymore. You're starting to see more involvement. And even you heard it from the CEO of Swift, right? I dropped a video earlier this week talking about all the money not the CEO of Swift, the CEO of Chainlink, talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars and everything getting tokenized and coming to DLT technology. We are not crazy. I know a lot of people think we're crazy in the XRP community because they can only look at the current price. They can't soundly, with a clear mind, look at the fundamentals. And even when you just look at the past performance, you compare it and you run some conservative numbers, the investment thesis remains. And then when you look at the utilities, see, we didn't have any utilities. Folks who wonder, why doesn't anybody use their XRP? All these crazy XRP holders think it's going to be a reserve currency and they just sit on their XRP. Well, you couldn't do anything else with your XRP. We didn't have NFTs. We didn't have an AMM. We didn't have cross-chain bridge. We didn't have decentralized identifiers. We didn't have price oracles. We didn't have on-chain lending. Is it all coming right now? Before that, you couldn't do anything with XRP besides send a cheap, fast, and efficient payment, which in and of itself is an incredible use case and utility. And Ripple is using that utility to solve trillion-dollar problems. And Brad just confirmed in that interview once again that their partners are financial institutions, despite what some people want to say. There are institutions that are working with Ripple right now as we speak. And David Schwartz in a most recent interview just said that it's very simple. It's hard for them to use XRP in the United States right now. That stablecoin is going to help solve that in the meantime, and until we get the conclusion of the lawsuit, and then it's going to be game on. Because then we'll have full clarity on how Ripple can sell XRP in coherence with on-demand liquidity. The business model gets the green light, and we're off to the races. And no other crypto company will have that clarity. We'll have that court precedent. Nobody else will have that. And if you want to make a bet that that's not going to be a positive impact for XRP price and the XRP is going to miss this bull run, then that's your choice to make. I'm not here to be your financial advisor. Right? And so let me get to some questions, comments. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. How difficult is it for Fox News to hire someone competent in digital assets to interview Brad? Is it meant to confuse the audience? Yeah, it is pretty funny, right? Eleanor Terrett would have been the best that they have. Charlie Gasparino, where's Charlie at? That would have been fun to see Charlie interview Brad. That would have at least been entertaining. But we got Liz Clayman this time around. Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah. Q4 will be the start of an epic run for XRP. I mean, Brad Garlinghouse himself even said that 2024 was going to be big. At XRP Las Vegas, he said somebody to, it was an off-the-record conversation where he told somebody, yeah, I get times are tough financially. It's a tough situation out here, but I wouldn't sell my XRP. I'm paraphrasing what Brad said to someone who asked him a question about holding XRP through, this market downturn and everything that's been going on. And Brad said, I wouldn't sell my XRP. That's pretty clear on how Brad thinks about this thing. And you have to understand that if Brad was truly just dumping on us, like they want to say, right? Brad's just dumping on us. XRP's not going to go anywhere. Brad's reputation and everybody else that's tied to Ripple, their reputation would be tarnished and ruined forever, basically. Maybe not forever. Maybe that's a little dramatic. But their careers would be over. If XRP was just going to be sitting at 50 cents forever, if it wasn't going to go do anything special, if it wasn't going to be anything spectacular, it would ruin the reputations of the 43rd Treasury of the United States all the way down to everybody else who's put their name behind this whole ecosystem. Dennis, appreciate the $5 super chat. Will Ripple buy out the remnant of PolySign? It's a bad look to only buy out the valuable asset. Standard custody. So far, silence from Ripple. Dennis, that is a great question. I have the same concerns. I am not an investor in PolySign equity, but it does concern me the fact that basically they're divvying up the assets. This is typical of a company that's going through bankruptcy, which I'm not saying that PolySign's going through bankruptcy. It's being acquired, or at least part of the assets are being acquired. But this is a concern for me, and I do worry about those that are shareholders of PolySign, because I want to make sure that those shareholders are still going to be holding shares of a company that has some assets and has a business and has a deal. But it does concern me the fact that the subsidiary, PolySign, is the parent company to Standard Custody and Trust. Standard Custody and Trust is a qualified custodian based out of New York with, SDNY approval, which is massive. And the fact that Jack McDonald's going to leave PolySign to go be at Ripple now gets interesting. Is Ripple stripping out the good, cutting off the fat, and moving about their business? That's what I'm wondering right now myself too. But you have to look, they have Atomic Net. There's other parts of PolySign that are very valuable. So even if you do split off Standard Custody and Trust, you still have Atomic Net. There's still some other facets to their business that do make it, a valuable company. Is it as valuable as it was with Standard Custody and Trust though? That's I have the same questions. And Dennis, I appreciate your super chat. I will be following up as soon as I get more updates on this. All we got was the update from Jack McDonald last week, basically saying that the Standard Custody and Trust deal was set to go through within days and that he was going to be joining Ripple. He didn't really elaborate on any deal further than that. It looks like a mob bust out. Yeah. Now, if I was a Ripple shareholder and I saw this deal going through, well, you already know. If history charts repeat, XRP should be hitting at least $4 soon. Yeah, I mean, the most conservative targets, $3 to $5. Even in that, you have an opportunity. You have some profits. I do believe that we're going to go a lot higher. Mega Man says, you got me hyped. Whoops. My bad. Mega Man says, best show on the YouTubes. I appreciate that, my friend. I really do. I really do. Any other comments, questions, guys? I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Remember, all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. We have links for exchanges, wallets, precious metals, rolling over 401k, deliver it to your door. Either way, we can facilitate. You can also join our private group, Patreon, Discord group. Love to have you in there. And we also have other resources as well. We got like merch, we got some other resources for business. And we're actually in the process of adding some new affiliates and partnerships there as well too, that are going to be just more community resources that I think are going to be important for all of you guys. Linked up in the description of all my videos is John Deaton. If you guys haven't already, we need to be supporting John Deaton right now. We need to be sending a message to DC. This isn't just a battle in Massachusetts. This is a battle that the nation is going to be watching. John Deaton versus Elizabeth Warren. And it all ties back to the broader XRP go viral moment that I want to be a part of, right? Everybody wants price action for XRP. Well, spread the good word, spread the gospel. We should all be like the missionaries, spreading the good word across the planet here, and it's not about, pumping it up so that we can dump on other people. It's about, hey, there's something real here. This is something real, tangible, real utility. And we can start to show the benefits that people can get for their businesses and for their life using this technology. And maybe that's all not part of XRP, but you just get folks into crypto. That's a good start right there. As we've seen, many people come into the space through Bitcoin, move to Ethereum, and then they're looking around for the rest of the stories. And what's drawn the attention has been the dogs, has been the Mickey Mouse, has been the monkeys. That's not going to be the case forever. Right? And the legislation and the regulation is coming in to tighten that all up this year, or if it doesn't happen this year, probably shouldn't be holding our breath because we know how DC operates. Then we're going to be getting it next year. It is going to be here shortly. Atomic Net, Dennis, is one of the other parts of PolySign's offerings. And right now is where we develop our exit strategies. Right now is where we come up with a plan for reallocation. Maybe you want to sell XRP at a certain price and then buy back in lower. Maybe you're going to sell XRP. Maybe you want to lend, use your XRP as collateral, not pay taxes, leverage it into other asset classes, other business opportunities. Well, now's the time to prepare that business opportunity. Now's the time to understand what real estate you're going to be going to buy and investing in. You don't want to be that guy that makes a big bag, runs it up just to hand it back to the tax man, just to hand it back to losing on the next investment. And I do believe that, after you make the bag, after you make the wealth, that's when diversification should be considered, right? I think that sometimes folks want to diversify too early, right? They're putting the cart before the horse, right? If you don't got M's in the bank account, you're not going to diversification is not how you get M's in the bank account. Diversification is how you protect the M's in the bank account. Buying a bunch of silver with profits. Yep. And so this is it's a moving thing, right? Your exit strategy today is not your exit strategy last year or the year before. If you're in the XRP army like myself, I've had an XRP exit strategy since 2018 and 2019. I'm just waiting to fulfill it. God willing, one day I'll be able to fulfill it, at least the first parts of it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up this session. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. I got more content dropping tomorrow, so if you appreciate our updates, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you like this one, if you could tap it for me, I'd greatly appreciate that. And like I said, everything is at ZachRector.com. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much. God bless.